Hello everyone, I'm Heather. This week's project is the very last week of Dewithon. So we have to get through all of the books that we've set ourselves out for Dewithon this year. All 94 of them. But like, no pressure. Don't feel stressed. Also, there's a few things standing in the way of us doing that. One being that I've realized I can make stickers. I don't know if you can see, but this is pretty much taking up my whole life at the minute, and I don't know why. It just is. Also, I've made these ones. Wait. Look how cool that one is. Anyway, so I'm making these instead of actually reading. So then I was like, you know what today would be good for? An audiobook. So I found a Dewithon related audiobook, which actually is pretty freaking awesome. It is Ken Follett. Okay, you know this guy, he wrote like Pillars of the Earth, about that massive cathedral, right? So I read that one, it was good. He's from Cardiff, where I live now. So I went on Libby and I was like, what kind of Ken Follett audiobooks can I get? Like, all of his are massive. They're going to be like 41 hours, right? I was like, down. I was like, right, 41 hours of making stickers and listening to Ken Follett. Let's do it. But then, randomly, I found another one that was only an hour long. It's like a shorty. And it's non-fic, right? And it's about Notre-Dame Cathedral in Paris. So he wrote his Pillars of the Earth one, sort of like with that in mind. Like, he learned all about like the structure and like the building and stuff of it so that he could write this book. And when it caught fire a couple years ago, he was devastated because he's been to like church there and stuff. Like, he's not religious, he just loves, you know, ritual and old shit, right? So he was like, I want to do something, help please, you know. And so his publisher was like, oh, do you want to write a book that all the proceeds can then go toward like the rebuilding and the sort of repairs and stuff? And he was like, yeah, I want to do that. So he wrote this one, and it's basically partially about the construction of the cathedral and like its importance in medieval Europe and also now, but also his just like gun-wrenching, overwhelming emotion at it catching fire. Do you know what I mean? And it's like quite good so far. I've only been listening to it for a bit, but I'm down. I really like it, and I'm really glad that I randomly came upon it. But yeah, stickers is what we're doing today, and listening to this book about Notre-Dame. It's only an hour, so we may also go on to one of these 41-hour ones. Like, you don't know. We're wild. It's Friday. Let's knock out the park. Also, I need to shower at some point. Like, you know, get dressed, get up, go places, do things normal humans do, besides just making stickers. But, you know, we'll get to that. Baby steps. Okay, I'm embarrassed to say how long I've spent making stickers and listening to audiobooks. I'm not gonna say, but I will say I finished that audiobook by Ken Follett, and it was really good. I really liked it. So it was really short. It's more like, I guess, a really long essay, really. But it was like really interesting, sort of saying how the cathedral sort of got its origins, sort of who built it, sort of snags that people would run into when building these cathedrals in the Middle Ages, you know. Interesting sort of cultural bits, you know, like some Victor Hugo stuff, and sort of like the cathedral's importance to the people of Paris, you know, and that site as well. Like, it was a Roman like goddess like temple site before that, and then there were like 5 other Christian churches in that place before that one was built. And also is sort of this background of like how tragic it is that it's burned, you know. But also it wasn't sort of all doom and gloom, because he is sort of like writing this book in order to raise money for its sort of repairs and everything. Like, it will be repaired and it will be fixed. It's just, I don't know, like, he does really well in sort of like portraying like how like deeply it's felt in Paris that this has happened. I don't know, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really interesting. But I do really like Ken Follett, you know, like I liked his Pillars of the Earth, and I think I will eventually read the second in that series. But like, I looked at the audiobook, and the audiobook is like 45 hours long, so even just in the reading of it, dear God, like, it's a project. It's a project. It gives me anxiety. But I started on as well this other one, The Fortune Men by Nadifa Mohamed. So loads of people told me that the audiobook was not the way with this book. They were like, it's a good book, but don't do the audiobook. So I was holding off. In the end, like, I've got stickers to make. I've got days to waste, friend. I need an audiobook and it needs to be Dewithon. So I've gone with it. And actually it's not that bad so far. It's about, so it's actually based on a true story that happened, I think, in the 50s about this guy who was from Somalia, I believe. And he came to Cardiff, he came here to work on the docks or like on a ship or something in Merchant Marine or something like that. And he was wrongfully accused of murder and put to death, I think. And they found out that, like, you know, later, after, way after it was possible to fix it, that he 100% did not do that. And the sort of, I think, the policing around it was super dodgy and disgusting. Anyway, this is, like, I guess, a fictional account, you know, it's not of that guy, but I think it's based on that. And it's quite good, like, it's going in quite, like, detailed about how it is that they came to be in the UK, this sort of, like, group of him and his friends, and sort of their relationships and their kids that they have now in Cardiff and stuff like that. I think I quite like Nadifa Mohamed's writing style, you know, like how she writes her characters and stuff, so I'll let you know what's up with that. At the minute, I have to go to the post office and send off my American tax forms. If all your foreign earned income is excluded, you can't claim a credit or deduction for the foreign taxes paid or accrued on that income if only part of your income is excluded. I'm for real about to quit America. Should I bin it off? Should I just quit America? You can't claim a credit or deduction for the foreign taxes allocable to the excluded income. See publication 514 for details on how to figure the amount allocable to the excluded income. You're fucking kidding me. What the fuck does that mean? I'm going crazy. I'm gonna quit America. I'm gonna do it. Watch me. Ducks. Are you coming in? Oh, babes, show us your outfit. Is this your full look? Okay, so I'm a bit further in my audiobook, right? And I was listening to it last night while walking up to the pub, like 20 minutes walk from my house to the pub. And I was sort of loving it, blah, blah, like I was doing before. But then all of a sudden, I sort of had an intrusive thought about it all sort of trying too hard. And it sort of ruined everything. And it was just one moment. It was like one intrusive thought, just like flew by like a bullet. And now I can't get back to where I was. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to explain. So the characters are quite good. I quite like how they're written, right? So this Mahmoud guy, the main character, he is like a sort of chancer type dude, like a bit of like a minor swindler, you know, like a bit of just not super dangerous, just like more opportunistic crime, you know, like a sort of harmless type criminal. And you get his view of things, like his family, his childhood, like he's having snippets of his life, blah, blah, blah. But you also get it from loads of other people around. So like seemingly sort of minor characters. And one of them is the woman who was murdered. She's like a Jewish immigrant or whatever. And we're getting her full life, you know, her character, her personality, her history, how she got here, her relationships with her family. Like, you're getting all of it. And it's good, you know, I like a well-rounded, like, three-dimensional character where you know all their stuff. But she's gonna die. Her whole point in this book is so that she can, like, cause the main character to be fucked around by the police and, like, falsely accused of stuff. You know, like, if she's just gonna kick it in the first couple chapters, you know, like, why are we spending so much time developing her as a character? And I just thought, is it, I don't know, like, it's trying too hard to establish all points of a situation, you know, like, we could just focus on this guy, but I'm gonna get all these other people as well. It doesn't, like you'd think, oh, getting a full lay of all the characters like sets the scene properly, but it's taken too long and it's like a bit forced now. Like, you've put that in there for a reason other than being part of the story, and like, what is it? Because it's not adding anything to the story. But like, that is just, it was like a fleeting thought. It just hit and then left, and then, you know, the rest of the way walking up I was like, this book is great, you know. But now it's like leaving its mark on things. every time they focus a lot on another character, I think, why, you know, it's just like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like, it was just a bit too much. And why was it too much, you know? But other than that, I believe I'm enjoying this book. Okay, it's Saturday. I don't have anywhere to be until I think 5:30 or so, when I'm meeting some friends for the cinema. So, you know, the world is our oyster. We can do anything. I think we should spend it reading the book that I told you in the last vlog I was going to have finished before I talk to you again, but which I'm still only like a little more than halfway through. I think we should do that because it's Dewithon and we are devoted to Dewithon and we only have 1 week left. However, there's also this like new like digital pen thing coming today. They're delivering it today and I can see myself wasting loads of time playing with that. Also, the person reading this audiobook can't do a Welsh accent for shit and it's driving me nuts. Like, I know I shouldn't be so intense about people doing a Welsh accent. Like, it's a bit of a niche accent, first of all. Like, I can't do it. You know, why should I be judging other people? But I feel like if you sign on to read an audiobook based in Wales with loads of Welsh people in it, you should at least be able to distinguish that from other kinds of accents. Like, the other audiobooks I've been listening to this month, they're all, like, based in Wales. But they were sort of more... like part of a Welsh publishing, you know, community. So like the authors are Welsh and the publishers are Welsh. So I think the people who were reading those audiobooks were actually Welsh or they were the author or whatever. Whereas this one, I think it's just based in Wales. I think the author is actually from London or something. And I imagine, you know, the publishing community and industry and everything is also from London. So they've picked a guy from London and he ain't doing good, like... You know, there's loads of people in this book, loads of characters from loads of different places as well, which isn't helping it. Like, there's loads of, it's Tiger Bay, sort of the part of Cardiff that is really diverse, especially at this time they're talking about. Loads of people coming in sort of on ships and stuff, doing jobs down the docks. So you've got people from all over Africa, loads of different kinds of African accents, like, you know, Jamaican and like West Indies and all that sort of stuff, Southeast Asian. You've got loads of different kinds of accents and he's doing his best on them. And to be fair, my knowledge and ear for those accents isn't good enough to be able to say you're shit at that accent. But when it's like a character talking and they've been talking a while before I realised that they're a Welsh character and not a Jamaican character or something like that, like that's what drives me nuts and I've had enough of it. Like, I can't remember who told me that the audiobook is not the way to listen to this book, but I agree now 100%. I need to just give this up, get the damn book, you know, and just read it with paper. Oh my god. I just hauled ass home on my bike because I didn't have a coat and it started to rain. I got home just before I started pissing it down, so that's really good. But now I'm so sweaty. So sweaty. Okay. Good mail day though. While I was away, my things came. First thing, The Replacement Centre by Readathon. So Readathon wrote a llyfrgell, the one I read before for Dewithon, The Library Suicides, which I didn't really like actually. Like, the movie was worse, but the book itself, I think it's only 3 stars. But the writing style of the author, I think I dig it, so I'm going to try to read other ones of hers. And Karen at Roving Reader was on about this one being amazing. It's just like the £1 sort of like novella type series that they have out sometimes. So I bought that for £1, steal, and I expect it to be amazing. It's about some sort of like weird replacement service for when your husband or wife dies. Like, you can just get a new one. Can I trade them in while they're still alive? That's the question. Just kidding, James, I love you. Okay, next thing, this like stylus thing, this like digital pen thing. So I've got like a tablet thing that has a paint program on it and I like it, but I just do it with my finger. But this will make them more precise so I can make better stickers. I said what I said. Guys, I finally finished it. Okay, Revenant by Tristan Hughes. I've been reading this one for ages. I finally finished it, and I think I really liked it. Like, I think I need to do a bit of digesting still. But I think at the moment, I'm going with like a good 4 stars or so. Like, I liked it, okay? The idea, just to recap, because it's been like 9 years since I last talked about it. Okay, there's these 4 friends, and they're best friends as kids, but they're sort of loner kids. They're sort of misfit kids, each in their different way. There's 2 girls and 2 boys. And something has happened, okay, like something bad has happened to one of the kids. And now, in the present, 3 of the 4 kids are adults, and 3 of the 4 kids as adults have come back to the island. Like, 1 was still there, he never left, but 2 left, and they've all come back together now, the 3 of them, to sort of commemorate this other kid who's now no longer with us. And they sort of, like, each of them tells a different narrative, so each of them is given their own chance to sort of tell from their own point of view what happened in the past as children and what's happening now. And you really get into their heads, which I really like. You know, it's like one of these ones where I sort of say these about books a lot, but I think it's like quite true of, I think, Welsh books in general, in that it's one of these ones that sort of builds your empathy and sort of like makes readers of fiction like more empathetic as people, because it really delves into people's minds, like the good, the bad, like how they see themselves, how they see other people, like really honest and genuine depictions of, you know, what makes a person and what makes a life, you know. And I think basically nothing happens plot wise. Another, I feel like theme of Welsh literature, or like at least the Welsh literature that I tend to read, plot wise, you've got nothing. Like, they've come back and they're just, you know, gonna hang around a bit. They're gonna walk around the island a bit, you know, walking from sort of the pub where they're meeting to this place where they're gonna commemorate their friend or whatever. But sort of like character wise and in, you know, memories and in just the way that the author sort of like describes things around the island, you know, like the birds, you know, the sea, how the people on the island are so strongly devoted to the sea, or so strongly like tied to the sea, how they're sort of tied to the island whether they want to be tied there or not, you know, how the past, like your past, it, like will always be there with you, and how these people in particular living on this island, how their past on the island, you know, they'll never be able to get rid of it as much as they want to. If they want to, they can't run from it. Like, they have to, in the end, just face it and just face that it's a huge part of them and who they are. That's the story. That's what makes it good. Like, a sort of poetic, like insightful, I don't know, descriptions of people and the places around them.
What kind?
Like hoop earrings.
I want so much of onion.
Huh?
You should have this.
The spaghetti. Ooh, spaghetti marinara. Ooh, that one looks good too. Oh my god. I feel like I've been hit by an emotional truck. So, I read this book once ages ago. It was one of the first books I read like properly in Welsh, like a novel in Welsh. It was called Nebo, by Manon and Steffan, and it's recently been released in English. The English version is The Blue Book of Nebo. And basically, I thought, because when I read it in Welsh, I was like, oh, my Welsh isn't that good that I'm able to like get nuance and stuff like that, and it's got all these words for like, you know, prose and stuff like that. And I was like, maybe I've like sort of missed those parts by reading it in a different language. So I was like, oh, I'll try it again in English. Holy shit. It's so sad. And oh my god, I need a minute. Like, I knew it was sad, obviously, because I've read it before. Like, it's proper dead kids and bunnies sad. Like, if you are feeling like you could crumple at any moment, don't read this book, okay? You need to be emotionally stable and strong to go into this. But I wanted to sort of see if I could catch any sort of like, I don't know, linguistic nuance or whatever that I'd missed, and like see if it's, you know, as good in English, because I think it was translated by the author, you know, so she wrote it first in Welsh and then she wrote it again in English. And yeah, it's really good. Like, it's so good. like there's so many quotes and stuff that like hit me really hard, and I like took pictures of them. Anyway, it's a woman, okay? She's got 2 kids. She's got a 14-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter. And the world has been in like this apocalyptic nothingness for like the last 8 years. Basically, there was some sort of like nuclear war / accident / whatever. Like, you don't find out what it is exactly because she never finds out. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you still don't know. And she sort of learns to live her life again, you know, like they grow food. Her son sort of learns to become like a really good gardener and a really good hunter. And they go into other people's houses of like people who are dead or gone or whatever. Like, there's no one left. Like, they're the only ones like in their whole area that they know of. And they take like books and, you know, food and stuff like that. And like, it's so sad, but it's so beautiful. Like, even the English version is beautiful. Like, the words that she uses, it's like quite hopeful despite everything being shit. Like, the mother says that sort of the end times and who she's become after that has like saved her as a person, because the person she was before the end times, she didn't know that person. That wasn't a strong person. She's like become herself, her best self since then. And she would say, you know, so many parts of life now after this sort of apocalypse thing are better than times before. And even like when they see sort of signs of things sort of getting back, they're worried about it. Like, it scares them. They're like, you know, the time before isn't necessarily better than the time now. And she has to sort of explain the times before this apocalypse to her son, because he was only 5 when it happened. And he's like, sort of, he reads a lot of books and he asks her a lot of questions, and he's like, did people just really pass each other on the street without saying anything? Do you know what I mean? You sort of think, oh yeah, like, it is weird to just walk past human beings and just pretend like they're not there and just assume that they don't want to talk either, you know? Whereas like in his world, if you see another person, that's a miracle. That's a blessing. That's a brilliant thing. Like, all the people you can talk to, the better. And after sort of this apocalypse or whatever as well, they have more time to read books and they have more books available to them, and they care more about books. Like, there was a quote about instinctually, you know, holding on to the things that you're most likely to lose or that you're most in danger of losing. And she sort of grasped onto the Welsh language, which she wasn't really interested in before, but afterwards she became really attached to, and also reading and teaching her son reading and writing and everything. And something about the title that I didn't realize when I first read the book, the mother, she sort of names their journal. So the kid and the mom, they're both writing in this journal that they found, and they call it the Blue Book of Nebo. And they say they're calling it that because of like in Aberystwyth in the National Library, they have these really old books of like Welsh histories and Welsh stories and stuff called like the Black Book of whatever, you know. And they're just sort of like, I think it's like 15th century sort of tales and histories and stuff. So they say they're doing it on that. But also, in the 1800s, the government in London used to write sort of reports about Wales in these sort of like blue bound books called like the Blue Books or whatever, and it just basically trashed the Welsh people in Wales. Like, it just sort of looked at them like, you know, savages, like uncivilized, like illiterate people or whatever. And so they're sort of, I don't know, making a point of that as well. I love it. I loved it. I love it so much. Like, it's so sad. I'm dying. I read that whole thing in the space of like just tonight. So I finished that one, the Revenant one, and then was like, oh, I'll just sort of see if I can get on with this one. It's done now. It's done. I finished it. I gotta move on to something else.
Did you want to reveal? No, more than that. Just a fuck ton of sandwiches. Yeah, God. Is that it?
Okay, I have finished Fortune Men by Nadifa Mohamed, and I'm gonna go with 4 stars. Like, I enjoyed it. It was good. I'm gonna say that. Like, I know I had a lot of rants and a lot of like falling down and like meetings with myself while reading it, but I think the only rant I'd stick to now would be that the audiobook was a bit shit. Like, to be fair to the reader of that audiobook, they'd have to be an expert in a shit ton of different languages to read this book properly. Like, there's so many different characters from like all corners of the world, so many different nationalities represented in the characters in this book, that in order to nail each accent properly, like, I would be impressed if they could do it. They didn't do it, in my opinion, particularly with a Welsh accent, but I think also at times like a sort of posh English accent as well, like, also came off a bit weird. So it was annoying, and I disliked that. But my other rants, I think I've come to terms with them. I think I've changed my mind. I feel like in the end, like, I'm not gonna spoil it for you. Like, I mean, you know, he dies. Like, that's the whole point of the story. But like, other than that, I'm not gonna give any spoilers. But sort of near the end, you sort of get this feeling of the main characters, the person who's put to death for the murder and also the woman who was murdered, that their lives are linked, you know, they're intertwined, like, they depend on each other. As soon as one died, the other would die, you know, and they're sort of, I don't know, fated to sort of be linked, their deaths. So I guess when you think of it that way, you know, so much focus on the murdered woman, it sort of makes more sense. And I'm not annoyed by it anymore. I think it's like good. It's a good part of the story. But yeah, it's devastating. It was like really heartbreaking, like near the end as well. I read another book that was like sort of like this like hex ages ago, where it was another sort of thing where someone was about to be sort of put to death, and the night before is just like, you know, the worst possible night. And it hits hard. It's like it's hard to think about. And there's sort of like an epilogue where they say what, you know, sort of like the facts and like what happened with the actual real case of this. The guy was executed, and his wife basically spent the rest of her life like fighting for, you know, his acquittal, or not his acquittal because he's dead. Is that the word for it? Or like, you know, to sort of clear his name. And while he has been cleared, like they had sort of like a sort of justice project, I guess, where they sort of went through and tried to clear these sort of unjust cases. He was cleared through that, but, you know, despite that, the police never like suffered any retribution for that, you know, like the people who put him in prison just because, I don't know, like lazy policing and just like hideous racism, like forcing them to put innocent people to death, like they were dead by the time any of this came out, you know what I mean? Like, and a report just came out recently to do with police in London. Like, I mean, it's specifically to do with like London police, but like, I guess it is part of like a wider sort of thing for UK police, basically saying that they're like hideously racist and misogynistic, and, you know, have been, always will be, you know. So it's not even like it affected any change, you know, it was for nothing, which is just disgusting and heartbreaking. But anyway, 4 stars for that one. Yeah, really good. Would recommend. Okay, I've now realised, just now really, that there's only a couple days left in March. So, like, I think this is the end. This is the end of Dewithon. I've done the best I could, and it wasn't bad, okay? So I read 10 books for Dewithon, you know, which isn't shabby. I did 6 books, and 4 audiobooks, which I think I'll sort of, I don't know, put up somewhere. Yeah, I think it was pretty successful. Like, I can't remember exactly what my ratings were now, but I think all of these ones were 4-star reads. Like, these were quite good. I enjoyed them. There was only one book, which was a 3-star, which I didn't really like. And then with audiobooks, there was the Curse Bread one that was, I think, 3 stars. Did I give that one 3 stars? I don't remember. Takeaway, I think I also gave 3 stars. Fortune Men 4 stars, and Notre-Dame, that one, I gave that one 4 stars as well. Like, this was a banging Dewithon. This was good. Good time. Right, if you've reached this far in this ridiculously long vlog, thank you for watching. I appreciate you. If you have any questions for me, any thoughts, comments, whatever, did you do Dewithon? Did you read anything for that? You know, did you read other things in March? Did you enjoy March? You know, as a reading month in general, let me know. You know, I'm up for anything. And I don't know what my next project will be. I might think of it just sort of randomly later, eating Chinese food over the sink. I don't know, but I'll let you know. And I will see you next week.